What's going on, my beautiful people, and welcome back to the vlog. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this video, and I promise you, you will definitely get something from this video. So please watch it all the way to the end because y'all know me by now. As sure as grits is groceries, I done snuck something in there on y'all. Now, this one is story time with the broken prophet. I'm going to tell y'all a story of something that I went through because a lot of times, people don't know exactly what they're getting themselves into when it comes to any spiritual practice. If you're diving deep enough, and you guys have had Hollywood leading you, you got your own brain meats about what you should expect. But I'm gonna give you a story of something that happened as a possible scenario and how would you deal with it. But first, thank you guys again so much for the donations to Mr. J's family. A family member wants to come on. We just have to coordinate the schedule. Excuse me. And also, um, I will definitely start back with the list of folks who have donated to me personally. I mean, thank you so much. It allows me to keep doing what I'm doing here and putting the information out for those who have an ear to listen. Like I always say, not like I always, I mean, that wasn't me who said it first, but let those who have ear to listen, let them hear. Now, the before we get into the story, the webinar is still in play for this upcoming, what day did I say it was? Monday or Tuesday? I forget. I have to look. So if you want to start prepaying, no worries at all. Just send me that Cash App or Venmo. Now, a lot of you guys have asked me if it would be available for you to watch if you cannot catch it live. Absolutely, absolutely. This is what you guys do. After you send me the Cash App or Venmo, when you send it in the little comment section of either Cash App or Venmo, please put your email address. I will then email you a link, and the link will allow you to get into the webinar. So you can either get there live or you can catch it on replay. I just ask that as a short form to fill out, that you fill it out. Use your real email address because you know how some of y'all are. Because at the time of the webinar, they're going to email you, the entry. Okay. So do me a favor and please put your real email in there. Okay. And we are going to do the Hoodoo art of controlling others, tips, tricks, workings that will allow you to exert your influence on someone else and have them do what you want them to do. Now, let's get into the story. This happened a few years ago. Some of you who heard my podcast may have heard it before, but a lot of you are just now catching me. So, I'm down in South Georgia now, but a lot of you know from Southwest Atlanta, and it'll sometimes come out when I talk. Know what I'm saying, Shawty? But I've known in the Hoodoo community as well as the EFA community that was up there. The EFA folks used to call me the boogeyman, and I have no idea why. But anyway, I digress. Someone sent a lady to me who was having some really negative spiritual phenomenon happening in her house. And the person who sent the lady, I guess she couldn't deal with it, or maybe she was too busy. So I get the lady on the phone, and she is describing some things that could have been a little cattywampus, you know what I mean? Or it could have been something really, really bad. Now, I'll be perfectly honest, guys. A lot of times, and you've seen it on the ghost shows, a lot of times someone thinks that their house is haunted, they've got a poltergeist or whatever. 9 times out of 10, it can be debunked. And I told the lady that it can be debunked. Sometimes people are just under stress. Sometimes it's like leaky pipes or just bad wiring in the house. Because one of the things that she was describing was her mother, who was bedridden, was staying with her. And I guess her mom had a lot of machinery hooked up to her in the house. The lady she was fairly wealthy. So because she was in Buckhead. So I guess the machines would randomly cut off. And I'm not gonna lie, your boy, part of me was like, "Are you trying to off your mama and trying to blame it on ghosts?" But I didn't say that. But I was just going through possible mundane, non-spiritual scenarios with her. She was very, very adamant that it was spiritual. Besides that, she described that she was unable to leave her stove. And what I mean by that, she said she would wake up, get her kids off to school. She would go to her stove and spend the entire day there. She felt like she could not leave her stove. Um, she was describing odd shadow figures out of the corner of her eye, just a feeling of like really dense oppression in the air. No one wanted to come visit. And she had a hard time keeping housekeepers, things like that. I know housekeepers, right? And I'm like, huh, okay, well, that could be a number of things. I offered just to come walk through her home and see if there was anything that I picked up before, she committed to paying for a cleansing. But she said, no, no, I just I want to get this done. I know it's something spiritual and I just want to get it done. I said, okay. I gave her my price. She didn't balk on it, sent me my money immediately. And that made me like think that maybe I should have charged more. And still in the back of my mind, and this is where I messed up, because I always tell you guys do a reading first before you get into something. I didn't do that. It was already in my mind because she had said a few things on over the course of our phone conversation that had me thinking, she was, you know what I'm saying. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll go and I'll do a cleansing for her because anyone can benefit from a house cleansing. And not expecting to encounter much. In fact, I called a friend of mine who was in the Ifa Yoruba community in Atlanta. And I'm like, you know what? She had wanted to do like some hands on field work. And I said, hey, this is what I'm going to do. If you want to tag along, I'll pay you. She was like, Prophet, I don't know anything about doing that type of stuff. I said, don't worry, just follow my lead. I'm 99% sure there's nothing going on, but we'll clean her house. If there is any negativity, we'll just clean it and it'll be fine. Just follow my lead. She said, okay, no problem. What do I wear? And I said, just, wear whatever you're comfortable in. Why this girl show up in all white from head to toe? I mean, white, long white skirt, Yoruba. I mean, hey. But anyway, I got the lady's address and I'm on the phone with my friend, and it's odd because there was so much happening that was like trying to stop us from getting there. GPS was going crazy, which again, I wrote that part off because we were going to Buckhead and cutting through downtown Atlanta. And I don't know if it's better now, but at the time, the buildings were so tall that it would mess with GPS and cell reception and stuff like that. We were getting routed around, and it was just crazy. And we finally show up. We were like 30 minutes late. And y'all, when I tell y'all, I pulled up to this house. And it was, like I said, it was in Buckhead, which is an affluent part of Atlanta. And it was a pretty nice sized house, but it was one of those houses that it was really old because Buckhead at the time had a lot of old money there, what people call old money. They had it there. And y'all, I pulled up to this house. My friend pulled up maybe 5 minutes after I did. At the time, I was smoking Black and Miles. So I, pull out, pull up, get out, get my bag, put my black out, put my black out. I look up at the house. The only way I can describe it is I was looking at the house was looking at me. So I said to myself, I said, self said, huh? I said, oh, self said it back to me. My friend walked up and was like, Papa, I don't like the feeling of this house. I said, me neither. But don't worry about it. We about to do this. So we cleansed ourselves with Florida water. I had already anointed the bottom of my shoes with protection oil and anointed the top of my head and my hands with blessing oil. I did the same with her when she pulled up. I reached into my bag and I counted my bundles. I had already bundled up some sage, which I don't normally use, except for the fact if I'm going somewhere where the spiritual phenomenon may be due to the land. Because, guys, sage only cleanses negative entities of this land. It does not work for everything. There are some things out there that sage just makes them hungry. Okay, you have to understand, America is a melting pot of different cultures, and we all brought our own angels and demons with us. And sage doesn't work for everything, but the ones for this land, it works very well for. And I had some sage. I had some peppermint, some rue, fresh rue, and some hyssop. Bundled with twine, I had some holy water. I had I forget how many bundles. I think I had 7 bundles with me. And when I say bundle, it looks like the white sage smudge sticks that y'all have, but it's fresh. And it's all bundled together with twine, so you can just, shake it. So we start to walk up to the door. Big windows, it's dark on the inside. The door opens, it's the lady. Now I can already tell that she was non-melanated. But when I tell you this is probably the whitest lady I'd ever seen, and she was a redhead. And for some reason, white people with red hair are exceptionally pale, which she was. Dark circles under her eyes, and I'm like, wow, she done been through some stuff. And so walk in, she's like, come on in, and there's a little part of me that's like, I don't want to, but had a job to do, right? So go in, and my homegirl is so close to me that I was afraid to just stop suddenly while I was walking because she would have ran into the back of me. And I'm like, don't be scared now. Do not be scared now. I'm saying that, with my look. So the lady starts to, recant what has been going on. She starts to also say that she's having trouble sleeping and maintaining her sleep, odd bruising, things like that. And I'm like, yeah, it's something in here. Now, I forgot to tell you guys beforehand, I'd gone over my procedure for a house cleansing for her. When I'm going to clean a house, I have the homeowner open every door, every drawer, every cabinet door, everything. I want them open. Hey, if your kid got a piggy bank, open it. I want no closed doors. Okay, and I had to look. I'm not looking at your stuff, but I need to cleanse every part of this house. So I walked in, and I could see that that had been done. There were a couple of drawers that people always forget, like one up under her coffee table or something like that. No biggie, had that done. All right, so I gave my friend a bundle, and I took one, and I said, "This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna start because the house was 2 levels. Come to find out, it was 3 levels. There was a basement. And I said, we are going to start at the bottom and work our way up. No, no, no. We'll start at the top and work our way down. Okay. Sorry, I'm getting a little wonky trying to make sure I give you guys the entire story. So we started at the top of this house. And immediately, once I broke out the holy water, because what I do is I take holy water and I sprinkle it on the bundle and we shake and pray. And we shake and pray. um, Generally we're praying where Jesus is casting the the unclean spirit into the pigs. We're saying the Lord's prayer over and over. We're saying the 23rd Psalm over and over, you know. And we start at one room and we work our way until we've got, down the hall. As soon as we started in the back of the top of the house, that room, it was like her son's bedroom. And I looked in there, and there was a bunch of, like, weird little old knickknacks, and she was like, "Yeah, I like to go to, estate sales and pick things up, and he likes these little odd things." I'm like, "Your child is odd." I said that to myself. Said it to myself. And then I saw, like, a lot of metaphysical books, and she's like, "Yeah, he's going through, we're very spiritually open here," and, she was a hippie. She was an artist, so you know how artists can be. And you know, he was going through a metaphysical phase. He had that big blue book of witchcraft that everybody seems to get, the one with the big pentagram on the front and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, well, this could be part of it, but no worries. Cleansed his closet, got up under his bed. That's when the air started to get really thick then. And you know how like when an airplane takes off, your ears start to close up and you gotta like chew gum or yawn or something to open up your ears. And that's what I was starting to feel. Tightness around my chest. And I'm like, okay, here we go. So what I do is I clean all the area of the room. Once I clean like a drawer, I shut it. And by cleaning, I mean I just shake the stuff and pray. Shut it. Every door, shut it. Everything, shut it. See, once you cleanse an area, you don't want stuff going back. Now, once I close a drawer, clean it, close it, I make the sign of the X with the bundle. I have so many bundles because they'll start to break down over the course of the cleansing, depending on how large the house is. So we make our way out of his room and close his door and make the sign of the cross. Because if it is like an actual entity and not just some negative energy, or as the Hotepper say, vibration, you don't want the stuff rushing back in there after you cleansed it. So you bar the door. And that's what we were doing. And we were working our way, and we got the entire upstairs. And I'm like, okay, it's heavy. And she's following behind us. You know, she walking through the house, you know. She's following behind us, which is no problem. She's like, wow, it's starting to feel better. And I'm like, do not open those doors yet. Do not open those doors yet. She's like, okay, fine. We get to what I thought was the first level, but wasn't. It was the middle level where we'd come into the house. And I'm like, okay, let's get started here. And then we're done. And she's like, you don't want to go in the basement? I'm like, basement? Why didn't I ask about a basement? Since this was an older part of town, they had a basement proper. A basement proper is when someone digs a hole in the ground and sets the house there and you can go downstairs into the ground. A proper basement, there's no windows because you're in the ground. Nowadays they just build a house, they just, put a slab down and then they put a garage and then they go up and then the steps walk up into the main part of the house. This had a proper basement. I'm like, basement? Hmm. So I called an audible and I'm like, let's go to the basement because we've already cleaned the top. Let's start at the bottom and push everything to the middle of the house. I get down there and let me back up. Remember when I told you guys she said she could not leave her stove? I walked into the kitchen and there was like there were like several stacks of books. There were like ashtrays overflowing with cigarette butts. She had literally been standing at her stove for who knows how long. It's wild. But anyway, we get down to the basement and I get there and it's like, what? The air is thick. The lights are on, but the room is still dark. Uh, it was weird. So with it being a basement, there was only like one closet down there. And as I cleaned, I promise you, a door popped up out of nowhere. You know, when black folks start clapping, we getting serious. A door popped up out of nowhere. It's not possible that I could have not seen this door. But I'm like, there's another door here. And she's like, yeah, but it doesn't go anywhere. I'm like, how's there a door that goes nowhere? Y'all, she wasn't lying. I opened it and she was like, you sure you want to do that? Looking back, I'm like, was I sure I wanted to do it? Because I opened that door and the door literally led nowhere. I opened the door and you could maybe take 2 steps in and then it's just a wall of red clay, Georgia red clay. So I don't know what someone thought about building. I don't know what the idea of that was because she had bought the house and remodeled. That's what kicked off everything. And it was nowhere. It was a door to nowhere. I mean, it wasn't even a closet. It's just a door that opens up into like some dirt piled about this high. It's just a door to nowhere. But there was something in there because when I opened that door, you could feel like just air rushing out. Imagine, someone has a fan blowing on the other side of the door. You open it, you feel the air, but it wasn't air. Something pushed its way out. And I wasn't worried about it. Looked at my homegirl. My homegirl, very dark complected by the color of my hat, but she was pale. And she's like, Papa. And I'm like, don't worry about it. Cleaned the door. And I drenched this bundle in holy water and lobbed it in there. like a grenade and slammed the door shut. And I made a mark of the cross with my thumb on the door. And I told her, I said, get ready. When I tell y'all, I'm starting to get goosebumps. We finished cleaning the basement, went up. When we got back onto that main level, all you know what broke loose. We started, there were shadow people, like, I mean, it's like there, just woof, woof. I don't know if y'all can see, but the hair on my arm is starting to stand up. Shadow people. I mean, there's just knocks, thumps. It wasn't crazy like in a movie, special effects crazy, but it's something you could actually perceive. I mean, because I saw one go, and then my homegirl was like, "Did you see that?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, oh yeah." Now, to my homegirl's credit, she did not. You know, there are two types of people in this world. There are the type that if they're playing ball, they're like, please don't throw the ball to me. I don't want to make a mistake. Then the other type is, get it here. I got this. She's that second type. She like ovaried up, and she was like, okay, let's do this now. And so I said, listen, I'm gonna go this way, you go that way, because the house kind of forked. And I said, let's meet back in the kitchen. I had already closed and sealed the front door. Ain't nothing getting out. So she goes that way, and she's like, something's coming your way. And I'm like, got it. And I'm like, we're like cleansing stuff, slamming door, wham, 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 wham. We meet back in the kitchen. We meet back in the kitchen. The When I tell you the homeowner, the client, this lady started going berserk. And not like in an aggressive way, just in a like kind of getting unhinged kind of way. She's like running around like, oh, I gotta just my kids got I don't, and I'm like, ma'am, just calm down. I had a coconut in my bag. I don't know why I brought it, but I'm glad I did. What I, punched a hole in it real quick with one of the kitchen knives, emptied out the coconut water, marked it with a few crosses and some other symbols, set it on the floor in the middle of the kitchen. I started praying over it. I see the lady at the corner of my eye dart out the kitchen and go up the steps. I tell my homegirl, I'm like, "Oh, mm." And she was like, and I'm like, look here. Y'all, when people get overtaken with spirit, melanated folk, we tend to just fall out. Just non-melanated people tend to want to do other stuff. So I told my homegirl, I'm like, fall, you need to fall. Cause listen, if somebody about to get hurt up in there, I ain't gonna be the only one. So my homegirl like followed up the steps, brought her back down. I said, hey, just kneel here with me. So she kneeled with me, the my homegirl and the homeowner. And we're praying. I'm praying out the Bible. My homegirl is saying something in Yoruba. I don't know, but hopefully it was for the excuse me, for the occasion. Now, almost perceptively, the coconut was like. So I told my homegirl, I said, look, stand up. We started to walk um the clockwise around the coconut as we prayed. What I was doing is I am kind of we started like far back in the kitchen. Coconut dead center, we're like near the wall. And as we walk, we get closer and closer to the coconut. It's like we're spiraling towards it with the bundle shaking and shaking and shaking. And what that does is negative entities, negative energies, we're funneling it towards the coconut, and you guys guessed it, slam dunk, whatever that was, inside that joker. Took a candle out, lit it, drip wax into the hole, sealed it. Once we got that done, it's like the house brightened up. Old girl who had been flopping on the floor for some reason stopped and was like, "Oh, I feel better. I don't know what came over me." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, you took a nap on us for a second." And that was that. Now there is another part, kind of like an epilogue. Went out to the well, as we're collecting my ducats. I did look at her library. She had a library, y'all. Look at her library. She had a bunch of metaphysical books, but they were like practical metaphysical books, like how to do this, how to do that. And I think her son had part to do in it. I think another part was that there was something in that house that was disturbed when she started renovating it. And the last part, she wanted to show us her backyard. Went out there, beautiful backyard, had like some steps cut into the ground. You just walk down, and there were a bunch of felled trees. And I don't know if you guys remember, there was like a big storm in Atlanta where most of Atlanta flooded, and it knocked down a bunch of trees when that water got to go somewhere. And I think the land had been kind of disturbed by that, kicked up a lot of energy. And as well, there was a huge boulder in her backyard with a flat top, and I could see some scorch marks on it. I'm like, somebody's been out here. Now, true enough, it could be like teenagers, smoking a little what's up, or it could have been her or her kids out there dabbling in things they should not be dabbling in. So her situation was multifaceted. You have a teenager, and teenagers, especially pubescent teenagers, they just have a lot of like just energy. Then you had the disturbing of that old house through renovations. Then you had the land itself, excuse me, being blighted by the after effects of that storm. So it was kind of a perfect storm of things to lead to some paranormal events. Checked in with her. Let me tell y'all this. So she thanked us. Me and my homegirl left. Now, my homegirl showed up with a perm. You know, she left with an afro. I mean, we were, I put her to work. Hey, she want to be in the field. I put her to work. So she left with an afro, and I was like, "Hey, let's get her something to eat." And I had noticed like this like pizza joint down the street, so we went there, and my phone rings, and it's the lady. Pick it up, and she's like, "Is it normal for me to like feel a sexual attraction to this coconut?" Yeah, y'all heard me right. Y'all heard me right. Because yeah, I forgot to tell you, I left the thing there. She asked me, could she keep it? And I said, sure. Sure, it's yours. It was in your house. You keep it. I said, just don't crack the coconut. Leave it as it is. But then, yeah, is it normal for her to feel a sexual attraction to the coconut? Now, could it be the entity? Could have been, or she could have been a little cattywampus. Because I seriously think a lot of entities will attach themselves to people who are a bit askew. So I'm like, yeah, hey, I can't tell you what to feel. Just things will die down. You've just been through a lot. So just take some deep breaths, let it die down. Yeah, she was such a hippie that because when I checked in on her later, she was fine. But then she was like, Papa Lou, I feel like I've just taken something from the universe that was meant to be here. Like, should I have even just had this imprisoned this thing? I'm like, man, do what you want to do. Hey, do what you want to do. So yeah, that is one of my story times with the broken prophet, the time I cleansed a very, very, very active house. Now, remember I told y'all to watch to the end? If y'all have been paying attention, now you know how to clean a house spiritually. There's a blessing in every lesson. Just gotta watch to the end and stop all that fast forwarding. All right. And don't nobody put no timestamps in here. I want everybody to watch the entire thing. If you got any bit of value from this video, please subscribe to the channel, hit that thumbs up button for me, and I will see you guys at the next webinar. Start sending them cash apps and Venmos, and we'll get this thing running. Okay. Thank y'all so much for listening to this long story and this long video, and many more to come. Profit out.